Hello, we are back again on another version of the Scrum chat room. Welcome, and we are super excited to have you back today and to bring to you today very important topic: the skills needed to transition into Scrum. And why is this topic very important, and why should you listen to this session of our podcast, and why should you invite someone to come on board? We noticed that one of the major reasons why a lot of people take a very long time to learn their first Scrum role is because they don't have an understanding of what they should be focusing on. So most often when they take a certification, they are thinking the next thing they need to do is make a CV, start applying, get a job. But today we want to talk about 10 skills that you actually need. And if you're lacking in this area, then you need to start working towards building these skills. But before we go ahead with the whole presentation and engaging on the values of these keys and how they contribute to you becoming an effective Scrum Master, I want to take a moment to introduce our guest speakers today and our senior coaches who are going to be sharing their experience with us today. Before I do that, drop in the comment section. We want to know where you're watching from so that we can give you a shout out. So today I'm going to be facilitating this session and we're going to be sharing together with Coach Dania. And Coach Dania is joining us all the way from the great city of Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Coach Dania. Welcome to the Scrum Chat Room.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. It's a great opportunity to come and then share our experience and then our knowledge on Scrum, and then have a good open discussion about the agile journey. Yep, it's gonna be some exciting conversations here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Coach Daniel. And we have the famous Coach Al in the building all the way from the DMV area. Hello, Coach Al. Welcome to the Scrum
Hey,
Channel.
hey, Doc. Thanks for bringing me back, and Daniel, welcome. As always, happy to be here and share all the knowledge I can with you guys.
Yeah,
So,
and definitely we have all our wonderful coach watching. I see Coach Catherine connecting from Illinois, and every other person connecting. Please drop their message. Let us know that you're connected so that we can give you a shout out. So today, I want to talk about what are the relevant skills anyone desiring to become a Scrum Master should actually master? What are these keys that we should be talking about? And we've kind of a pre-talk uh, listed about 10 different keys that we are going to navigate. We might not really go deep into it, but trust me, most often we don't even have an idea that we need all of these keys or that we these are some of the stuff that we need also. And sometimes we've heard about some of them, but we don't even know what it's all about and how it can help us kind of create an insight or kind of create an environment that help us to become effective, not just in the interview, but when we actually get a job, how to do that. So we start with the foundation, right? The foundation is where many people already kind of have tapped into that. And the foundation is more or less on agile and the scrum knowledge, right? That's the first key set, right? Why is it a skill set and not really just a body of knowledge? You know, the reason why Scrum, let me say Scrum specifically, it's a bit difficult for people to go through because you cannot say anything and call it Scrum. It's very specific. But we're talking about spring planning. If you're not talking about spring planning, you're talking about something else. If we're talking about a daily stand up, it has a format. So you need to be able to master the skill set that requires you to understand the knowledge and the foundation. We're not going to really dive deep into that. We're going to step a bit more deeper into our second skill set, which I'm going to um, Coach Daniel to talk about the first part of that skill set, and then Coach is going to talk about the second. Now, there's a combination between leadership and facilitation skills. And Coach Daniel, what how important do you think leadership skill is. Now let's kind of bounce a bit back. Who is actually a leader, and how important is a leadership, or how important is leadership as a skill important for every aspiring Scrum Master?
Thank you, Doc, for that question. Leader. Now, a leader, that's a very good question. Now, a leader is different from a manager, right? Now, why do I say that? A manager, it's somebody who just give instructions or orders and then people just have to follow it, right? They are not a part of it. Now, a leader is somebody who is part of it, understands the process, and then just guides the people actually doing it themselves. They take the lead, and that's the name, the leader, right? They are there with you. And a leader is somebody who is able to solve problems, help solve problems, right? And bring that light into the room, not just leading the pack. Take it for instance. Let's just try to link it to a leader of a wolf pack. Just let's look at why is it they call it the alpha, right? Now, even if there's a foreign wolf coming into the pack, the alpha is the one everybody looks up to accept them before. Why? Because they believe in you. Why do they believe in you? You've demonstrated something, right? Some skills that let your team members or the whole pack rely on you. Like, okay, this is who we all have accepted to lead us,
That's right.
right? So that's who a leader is. Now, when I say a leader, what are some of the skills, right? You should be able to be an active listener, listen, you know, and also be empathetic. And then you should be able to kind of make decisions, right? Good decisions, not just any decisions. Good decisions, not selfish ones, selfless decisions that is going to benefit the whole group, the
Mhm.
team, right? That's who a leader is. So, yeah, talking about the leadership style of a Scrum Master, you should be able to have all these, qualities like bring light into the room. Remember, the team that you're working at, knowledge workers. They are knowledge workers. They know what they're about. But then you need to bring that light. They should be able to believe you that we are the ones doing the actual work, but then we believe you and then we follow your directions.
Wow. Thank you, Coach Daniel. And one of the things I also learned about leadership as one of the most important skills of becoming a Scrum Master, it's about self-discipline and self-accountability, which are the foundation or the core concept of a leader. And this is important because as a Scrum Master, you are leading, as you rightly said, the entire team or the entire squad. Just imagine if you don't have that self discipline to know where you need to send out the agenda, you're only waiting for stuff in the last minute, or you're always giving excuses. What happened? Yeah, so leadership skills is one of the strengths that every leader should build. And now, these do not just translate to you actually applying this while you're already a Scrum Master. It's a very important aspect also before you become a Scrum Master, because for you to sit down and study, you need to have that self discipline. For you to invest in the whole process, you need to have that self discipline. A lot of people, like, they complain about, oh, my schedule is too tight, I can do this, or I'm hard at work and I can only do this. You realize that what? The ability to discipline themselves on what they want, it's missing. So, like, I don't know if I want this and I want this. And we also hear a lot of people say, oh, I had a friend told me about this. I'm doing this because I see a lot of people having jobs there and all of that. Why? They don't own their decision. That self discipline is missing in there. And you realize that when they're actually doing it, they're not seeing result. They're wondering, oh, I've done everything possible. I'm not seeing result. Why? That leadership is not there. They have been influenced by other people. A leader should be influenced from the inward, not what people say. So you realize that it's a very powerful skill that every person looking into getting to Scrum can be able to pick and to master. And So I want to kind of get to come in from the other angle. And the other angle, it's about how the aspect of leadership can help, because one of the key points, if you ask anybody about, oh, tell me about your role as Scrum Master, they do two things: or facilitate event and remove impediment, right? Those are the two most popular stuff about that's done out of Scrum. Now we want to be able to kind of put a liaison between a link between facilitation and leadership, and why leadership is a very important uh, skill for a Scrum Master. But I want to take it from the angle of how does this key help you to become a good facilitator, and what is in the first place facilitation?
I mean, I think everything boils down to what you always mentioned, is boiled down to the key aspect is communication. In order to be a leader, not just yeah, in order to be a leader or to be part of a group, first you have to invest yourself, immerse yourself into that process.
Mhm.
Because I kind of look at partly, I say we're a process leader. That's one role rather than say a scrum master as a facilitator. So we're a process leader because you're not just at the team level. You're in a sense, you're facilitating the processes, be it scrum, agile, because depending on the environment you find yourself in, you're the, as we've seen some of our colleagues, they're doing beyond scrum. I mean, I myself right now, I'm basically dealing from portfolio level all the way down, right? And part of being a leader or it's the ability to take position
Mhm.
when you're not don't wait to be called upon in any given situation.
Yeah.
Because you're in the environment, yeah, I'm the scrum master, let me sit down and just listen. No, step in. If you in that environment, you see conversation is going on, you know you can give your input. Again, this was it's commitment. Part of we saying we invest in immerse yourself in there. Give your input, let them know why, but the ability to clearly articulate your message across, which is communication, is the breaks the barrier to everything. If you can communicate and clearly articulate what you're saying, then your ability as a leader, people are gonna follow you
Mm.
because they know what you're saying. There's a difference. I always say it's one thing you have the knowledge,
Yeah.
but understanding that knowledge is the key factor. This which comes back into saying, how do I communicate this thing that I know? How do I get it across to this individual? How
Mm.
do I get it across in this scenario? Right. This is what kind of part of that builds up this people stabs like, okay, you know, this is somebody we can go to for this, right? Then you become the leader of that pack within your given expertise, which is as an agile practitioner, which I
Uh-huh.
usually say rather than being a scrum master, as an agile practitioner, we are a leader in the agile space because we know we have the knowledge and the understanding of not just agile but the entire process. That's why we're a process leader, not facilitator. Yes, we're facilitating the process, but we're leader within the process that we're facilitating.
Perfect. That's a very powerful example out there. So, although you are in the process of facilitation, you're supposed to be leading the process. So you're not just sitting back and not doing anything beyond facilitation. You're playing a dual role, and I think this is one of the reasons why the concept of servant leadership has been a bit confusing, because many Scrum Masters have been seen more or less to serve rather than to lead. And one of these major aspect why most often, and this happen a lot in the workplace, Scrum Master appear more like servants rather than leader. It's also because of a very big knowledge gap, why the inability to be able to master how they should be leading or how they should carry themselves. And also, secondly, the fear of what is going to happen. Maybe, oh, what if I'm saying the wrong thing? What if I'm not doing the right thing? Right. So that fear keep them now to keep running to maybe people who are a bit more knowledgeable than them. And you notice that most often when you rely on someone so much, they tend to look at that aspect as a weakness. Right. So, and this is also kind of bring us to a very important communication, another skill, which is communication. Now, we want to look at communication in more or less in a three-dimensional way, and why communication it's a key aspect. And what are we talking about communication in the first place? It's like I can talk, I can talk. So, what exactly do we mean by having communication? I'm gonna open this up. Then our coaches are going to kind of discuss on it. Right. Now, there is a way on how to convey information at a given time T. And at any point when we talk about communication, we are not just talking about you sending information, we're looking on the feedback loop. And when we talk about communication, we are not just talking about how we verbalize one or how we talk to people. We're also going to talk about how our action convey what we're talking about. And now, Tanya, we want to talk about communication from an aspect of interviewing. Now, we have been in the process where we're talking to a lot of people and trying to understand to see if they're competent to be able to be a veteran Scrum Master. Let's take that communication from that aspect. What have you seen in what is the effect of communication in the way people present themselves? And what should people pay attention to when they are talking about communication?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that question. Now, in the interview process, when it comes to communication, right? Remember that communication is you passing across a message or an information, and then how the other party is going to receive it, right? When it comes to that point, I always say that you have to communicate clearly what your intentions are or what your understanding is, right? Now that comes from confidence, and that confidence also comes from understanding your material, right? So you spend a lot of time understanding, grabbing the knowledge, right? So that you can be able to articulate what you want to, communicate or to your interviewers, or what you want to, the message you want to pass across to your interviewers. And also taking ownership of what you're saying. Because you can be saying one thing and you can be meaning another thing.
That's right.
You can be saying one thing and meaning another thing. And this is one of the quotes I got from John Maxwell, reading one of his books. He says, everybody communicates, but not all of us connect.
Yeah.
Connecting with the interviewers is very important. I can come here, I can just say whatever I want to say, but then if I'm not able to catch your attention and connect with you, because now, if you look at this pattern, interviewers are looking for a certain type of candidate.
That's right.
And so, whilst they are talking to you, they're actually telling you what they want. If you are listening carefully, you will know that they are communicating to you what they actually want, the skill set they need.
Hmm.
Now, if you're able to listen carefully and understand that, that is when you can also, if you're able to connect with them, you're able to also sell yourself to them, right? That,
Yeah.
okay, I know that this is what you're lacking. This is what I'm bringing to the table. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And I have what you're lacking. I have what you need. So, put me here and then I can actually deliver. So that comes from active listening, mastering your material. Because if you master your material, like I said, when they are talking, you know what their pain points are. You know the problems they are facing as an organization. You just know it from the way they are talking. They are hitting, where they are hitting right there. They are talking about it constantly. And I think I got that quote from you as well, that you listen to somebody for the first 2 minutes, you're able to tell what their problem is because they are going to keep on repeating that
Yeah.
problem. they'll keep on repeating it. So you know that this is what they need, and then you provide that solution to it. Yep.
Wow, that's a powerful one, and that just reminded me that communication, it's about what the heart actually communicate, not what you're actually saying. Because you can be saying something, if somebody listening to you carefully, they will be able to pick like the different signal you're communicating. Right. Just imagine you probably might really be disturbed and you're trying to fit in a conversation. If someone with attentive to your conversation can easily pick out that there is something really not going on well. Why? Because there's that missing part from the heart. And now let's kind of also kind of align that to communication within the working space, which Coach Al is going to come in from that aspect. Coach Al, now based on your experience being an agile coach and also collaborating with other Scrum Master, what is the missing gap when it comes to communication for practicing Scrum Masters?
I think it varies several factors. I usually say encoding and decoding, but I think could Danny mention it too. But I think it's doubt, right? Part of it, when you have doubt, it creates the fear, which limits your ability to communicate what you know, to try to get your message through. And it's easy to tell but I usually say when we communicate is body language. And with a scrum master, face to face, I remember on the first PI when I went there, and not actually the last PI. So we have a scrum master, the scrum master that in the team, right? And she starts saying all these things, and I'm looking at her, I was like, this one is straight from the book. This is a scrum master from the book. It's like everything, right? But when I go in and deal with these people, you can really tell when somebody communicates, when they understand, they know, they have the knowledge and understanding of what they're saying. It's
Mhm.
not what you say, it's how you say it.
How you
Is
say
that what brought the impact?
that's
And
right.
it's like everybody just stop and listen, because what how you say it, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of make them pause like, huh, this makes sense. And your body language flows with it. I always say it's a thing I learned. I think that's it. If I'm right, 70% of our communication is body language. When we're communicating right now, you can see the free, right? Because we
Yep.
have the knowledge and understanding of what we're talking about. But yet the body language is responding. That's why I say it's how you say it, your
Mhm.
body language is responding to it. So in a situation where you have a scrum master, which confidence plays a role, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to know everything,
That's right.
but the little thing you know, you have confidence, and don't be afraid to speak. But once we start holding back, there's a doubt. So I'm standing there, you see people talking about, and I was like, yeah, this is not how the process works. Like literally, even to the directors and stuff, we go into the room, they pull me and others into the room, and I sat there, they start talking, they talk and talk. So I looked, I was like, this is not how the process works. It's not. That's your understanding of the process of how it you think it should be, but that's not how the process works. This is how the process works. So you have to in order for you to learn and better,
Hmm.
let the process go. So we've talked about, so I understand, I talked like, just let the process work this way. So now we're gonna learn and how to make it. And the Scrum Masters, because don't feel like because it's your first position, don't panic. You know more than the some most there's a chances that you know more than the people you're gonna be interacting with. From the fundamental level, the fundamental aspect is gonna work you through. You know more than that. So be confident when you talk to your fellow scrum masters, be it manager or fellow scrum, whoever it is. Be confident that you know what you're talking about. But one thing you gotta pay attention to, I think we mentioned it. Pay keen attention to what the message they're trying to get across.
Hmm.
Before you even respond, before you say anything, pay close attention. Try to pick key words within what they're saying, and then you can give a better response. You may not have to give 100% response immediately, but you give them something that they're gonna hang on to, and
Hmm.
then you can follow up later if there's a need be.
Yeah, powerful. Thank you. And just kind of to pivot on that, we're now making a connection why communication is important when you're in the process of applying. Number one, it helps you to be able to gauge the environment. It helps you when even when you're answering a question, you need to pay attention to what the interviewer, the way they are communicating. They might not be saying a word, but just their mood is already speaking to you. Your ability to understand that and to reciprocate is very important. Now, in the workspace, the three dimension of communication, which Coach Al is bringing to us. Now, the first dimension is your ability to be able to observe the environment. Like I say, oh, I sit down while listening, I can say, oh no, this is definitely what. Without saying a word, you can be able to observe. Now, when you observe, the next thing you do is to engage in questioning. Observe, engage in questioning. These are processes you must master in communication that get to the right result. I'll give an example. We had someone that joined a team, and it was more like their first or second day at work, and we're in the middle of a stakeholder presentation, and they like they raise their hand up, and then they ask question that was needful but did not really actually make sense at that point, right? Now you're coming in the middle of a project and then they're doing a presentation. It's like, okay, wait a minute. I think all of this is happening because we don't have processes flow in place. We should take a step back and draw all the flow chart that connect all the stuff there. But for the past 1 or 2 months, that's what the team has been working on, getting out of flowchart in there. Now, this person come in the middle of the project and assume that the fact that they are talking without actually projecting this on board is not there, right? So that's why there's this process in communication. It's not just about knowing what to say, it's also about understanding if it's the right thing to say at that specific moment. And that is why we always advise our student on the process. Now, if you get in an environment, there's a three-step flow. There is a listen and observe, which are the most powerful. Listen, observe, ask question. Now, before you actually step in to give a contribution or to start making any contribution, you build a solid foundation. Now, just imagine at this particular point, you're asking a question which sounds like a sensitive question. That's right. But because you did not actually take the time to engage and find out if this has been done or not, you can already sound like lost in the middle of the whole process. Now, let's do a bit of practicality here. There's a question that has been thrown in the chat box. And I want to use this more like an example to illustrate how to actually communicate within an interview process. The first point, I'm going to assume that I wasn't expecting this question in an interview. And how do I communicate in a way that I don't sound like I have no idea about this? So the question says that please describe if and where and when you manage a million plus budget size. This is a question a recruiter asked me today. All right. Now, without going detail into the question, the first thing is if this is a Scrum Master question, Scrum Master don't manage budget. Now, you've been part of a project which run millions of dollars, but you don't manage budget as a product as a Scrum Master. Now, if you are being asked this question from a project of a product from a project manager,
Yeah.
that is a whole different scenario. Right. And if you work in the IT space, each of the project, even the applications that are run, they're running on millions of dollars, not just $1 million or so. So if you were to answer this question like broadly on a straight note, you can pick any of your case study and you like, oh, that project was about $8 million, right? And the way we do project or budgeting in Agile, we budget them according to applications. So let's say that you're working on an Epic. Let's say that Epic is to be able to migrate data from on-prem, let's say on a specific application or on a specific service to cloud. That might be a whole portfolio that is in charge on taking, let's say, all HR processes from on-prem to cloud services. And that is work on by whole team. That might be like a whole year project that might have a budget of about 5 to 15 million. Now, in that case, when you're doing this on-prem migration, there are different component or the different application that will be affected. Now, we need to have maybe validation of the whole security system. We need to be able to build, let's say, portals or containers that are going to host this data. We need to be able to build different portals that segment data and give authority. Now, budget are being assigned to these different components of the project that is going to be done. Now, if you take it to a pure project management aspect, now you can now assign the budget to people, right? Budget is assigned to people, not to application. You have, um, let's say you have 5 resources, and this resources is going to cost you XYZ budget. You are buying this license will cost you. So in project management, we budget per resources and we budget per let's say the licenses that you're going to buy. In Agile, we budget on the effort that will be needed to complete the application and not around people. Then the effort is put around that application. So two way to communicate this first is to put a disclaimer that yes, I've been part of multi-million project that have run several applications. But then since I wasn't the project owner, I wasn't working in the capacity of the project manager, I I was not in the capacity to manage this budget, right? Or you can say, yes, I've worked in a project management position before, and I actually manage this budget. And this budget was either allocated to different application or allocated to resources and allocated to procurement and all of that, right? So, two scenario: one, you give a disclaimer and you retweet the question. Two, you're like, yes, I've done that. And you don't, when you say, yes, I've done that, we don't expect you to second guess. We don't expect you to start beating around the bush, right? If you have not done that, or if you have no clue, simply say you have not been in a position of managing such a budget or managing a budget like that because your position did not permit you. But then you can go ahead and share with them some of the project manage share with them what you'll be focusing on the budget, right? You're looking to make sure that it's in alignment with scope. You're looking to make sure that the resources that are aligned to the project, we are not going out of those resources. You're looking at your due date. You're looking at delay. You're looking at risks. You're looking at reworks and all of that. This is only when you manage project. If you don't manage project, you go with your natural Scrum approach. And now we're going to talk about two-in-one skills. Two-in-one, this conflict resolution and problem solving as one of the most hard skill. And then we are just going to wrap up with uh, coaching and mentoring as another skill. We can, and then in our next series, we're going to continue with other skills. Now, I'm going to start with Coach R this time around. Coach R, let's talk about conflict resolution and problem solving skill as needed by an agile practitioner or scrum master. Why is this a very important skill in the space of agile?
Uh, thanks. I think I think it's something we someone tend to overthink it
Mm-hmm.
because we're dealing with people. Like I usually say, the environment. The only difference is the environment. right? But one of the key thing I always think when it comes to conflict resolution is a composure. It takes two to fight. That's again we come from we talk about leadership, right? We've talked about communication and conflict and resolution. It takes a leader to know how to resolve a conflict or when and when not to interfere. But your ability to remain composed within the given situation, it's critical. That determines whether it escalates
Yeah.
or it de-escalate immediately, right? And I've been in situation, not even just in our job. You let them go, they rant. You're gonna have people that are gonna try to annoy you. Come, sometimes you have those. I usually say knuckleheads.
Hmm.
Who they are. Sometimes it's a test. They're gonna come as a test. Some team members are gonna come, but if you remain composed, let the individual vent whatever they do, and then be willing to be open minded and come at a different position. Sometimes try to put yourself in the position of the counterpart. Whatever the situation is, imagine that issue, how you're going to react to it. But because you're so composed, you immediately, how you call it, you deflate the situation immediately.
Hmm.
Now, when it's time for you to respond to the individual, that's another critical part of it. Keep your composure, but then try to bring in a different. I understand your point.
Hmm.
However, have we looked at it this way? Or what I was trying to say is, oh, okay, maybe I did not clarify this right. Right? Those are it comes back to your ability to communicate, the language you use. Right? It's not a punch was a punch for punch.
Yeah.
No, that's the those I think those are key factors I would say you gotta be mindful because at the end of the day you're dealing with people.
Hmm.
That's the key thing. When you deal with people, you gotta know when to act, when not to act, when to step in. Sometimes you just gotta let people vent their frustration. Just sit there and listen. When you're done, they realize themselves like, oh, he did not even react, but he sat there and listened throughout the stuff. Now, when you the way you respond back, sometimes it changes that individual perception
Hmm.
about you, and they become more open.
That's right. I do agree with that. So the first thing which we establish in here is that when two or more people work together, they're bound to be conflict, which is why you need to master how to resolve conflict. And the second aspect, which Coach also kind of brought out, was the fact that when we talk about conflict, most often it's not the physical conflict, it's
Yeah.
more or less the differences in ideas. I might be thinking, let's go out and have a cup of coffee. It's like, what are you talking about? I don't do coffee. And just because we're having different opinion and I push my idea through ignoring yours, that's a whole big conflict, right? And this might actually really escalate to so many stuff. Now, and then you also push back to reflect conflict in other skills which we've actually spoken, we've actually discussed. You talk about conflict and relate conflict back to communication, right? The way you communicate. That's why, as a Scrum Master, we say you leverage powerful questioning to be able to drive the conversation rather than use authority. Now, when we're also looking at that, at the way you communicate, we're also looking at the place of empathy. Empathy simply means that you're trying to put yourself in the person's situation, and that is where you're able to connect with them heart to heart. That's one of the most powerful aspect of resolving conflict. Being able to see value in people, and I love what in one of our training the other day. I think it was Coach Catherine that who shared something which was very powerful. And she said, now she brought up a working agreement item within her team. She said, for you to give someone one negative feedback start with five positive things before you get to that negative feedback. So if you cannot find five positive aspects to talk about somebody, what they're doing, don't give them a negative feedback.
Mm.
And this is a very powerful aspect of just creating an environment where people can see positively. Because something very little can spark a whole argument and bring the team down. But if you ask someone to like, okay, before you give a negative feedback, start by, oh, I really approve you for doing this. I see you're doing. By the time you get to the negative feedback, the person see it as a value added, not really like you're pulling them back. But if you're quick just to point into what people are doing without creating an environment, what happened? You're not creating an effective environment for conflict resolution. And Kustani, I'm going to put you to our last topic for today. Um, and if you have any question, please drop it in the chat box. We're going to find a way to squeeze in time to kind of answer. And our last topic for today, which is about an important skill that every Scrum Master should be able to master. We want to combine two of them in one: coaching and mentoring. We can even talk about three: teaching, coaching, and mentoring. Because when we say you're a Scrum Master, remember these are two words. These are two compound. It's a compound word: Scrum and a master. Scrum is a framework. Master simply means that you understand this framework in a way that you can help people apply it. So, in that way, we are looking up to you to be able to drive the process whenever you get to the team, which is the reason why, if you get to the team and you don't understand all of what is going on, you're being considered important. Right. And one of the aspects we probably might want to talk about in our next session is going to be on technical proficiency, which is what you actually do to master the environment so that you can be able to create some impact. But without wasting much time, Christiana, I want to roll it over to you to talk a bit about the competencies of coaching, mentoring, and teaching, and why they're important to a Scrum Master.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for the question. Now, coaching, mentoring, and then teaching, very important skill set of a Scrum Master. Why? Like you said, your position is a Scrum Master. You are the master of Scrum.
Yeah,
What are we doing? We are delivering a product. What are the three roles in Scrum? The Scrum Master, the product owner, then the knowledge workers, right? The developers. These guys have their skills. They're actually delivering that product.
mhm,
Our job is to make sure that we are using the principles or the discipline of the Scrum framework into achieving that goal.
that's right.
How do you do that? You teach them these principles, right? That is impacting the knowledge to them, how this works. That comes from you mastering it. Coaching, right?
Yeah,
Be fully giving them your full attention, undivided, because that's the only way you can actually understand them and be able to guide them. How are you guiding them? Effective and powerful questioning, helping them set goals, right?
yeah,
Action planning. That's how you're coaching your team members. When it comes to mentoring, I'll say it comes from connection. How do you choose somebody as your mentor? You see what they've been able to achieve. You've been able to build a certain rapport or connection with them before you can say, oh, this person is my mentor. You don't just choose anybody on the street as your mentor. You need to see that leadership style, that they need to have that value, that quality in them. You need to see something before you can start to say, this is my mentor, right? So for you to be able to start to mentor your team members, yourself as a scrum master, are
yeah,
you proactive? Do you have that organizational skills?
mhm,
How are you organizing yourself? Are you fully self-organized before you can start even helping your team to be self-organized as well, right?
yeah,
So very effective skills, but then it comes from your self-development. You know, you develop yourself first before you
mm,
can help others. You help yourself first before you can help others. So yeah, that's a little bit I can say about coaching, mentoring, and then teaching.
All right, thank you very much. And Coach Al, uh, I wanted to talk a bit about how technical should a Scrum Master be, and some of the technical skills a Scrum Master should focus on, and then we wrap up. Are you're mute?
What I usually say, if you have a technical background, that is great. Say you have a SQL background, maybe you can do some coding, Python, that's a bonus, right? But when it comes to a thing as a Scrum Master,
Hmm.
having you don't have some knowledge of the technical terminology, or the knowledge of the understanding what is being developed, the technical know-how, right? So,
Hmm.
so if they're talking about, okay, we're building a database where we have to ingest the data, those are the key terms you got to know, right? We're using this. So when you talk about data, one of the first things you think about is SQL, right? They're building a database. Okay, what is a database? Right? It's just basically a bucket and a collection of individual information is dumped into that bucket. That's what create a database. Then they talk about ingestion. What is the ingestion? You put in something. So having that understanding of some of these key technical terms, right, it helps you out as a scrum master.
That's
When we
right.
say technical, you don't have to be. I think some get the mindset, oh, I have to know how to code. No,
Now,
but having good understanding of the environment you're in, the technique, the terms that they use, you got to get into it. Like I said, if you know how to program and all that stuff, that's bonus. But it also could become a disadvantage because there you want to interfere and start going, and then everybody will just sit there and look at you. It's like,
yeah,
okay, who is this one, right? So, but I think overall, having understanding of the agile terminologies itself can be technical.
that's right.
Those are the terms, the agile terms, whether it's whether your flexibility, whichever those terminology in itself is technical within the as an agile practitioner. But understanding some of those technical terms out there, I think it helps you. And don't be afraid if you're in an environment they're talking about it, you don't understand. You be like, hey Peter, do you mind repeat that? Or this is how I'm understanding this. Can you,
That's
you
right.
know, just out of curiosity, let me just throw it. This might sound crazy, but this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
They're willing, more than willing to guide you back into it. I'll take the note those terms down, look it up. I'll reach out to them after the meetings. Peter, would you mind stay? I tell my team like that. Hey, once everybody, would you mind stay for a few minutes? And then I have a conversation with you to understand the things, right? So likewise, that we have to understand what they talk about.
mhm.
They too have to understand what we talk about when it comes to agile, the terminologies and all that stuff. So it's a kind of a two-way street that we need to have.
Thank you very much for clarifying that. On the aspect of technicality, just throwing a bit more light on that. I always kind of do a scenario that you can work in an auto shop for a year and not really become it. So sometimes one of the reasons why we say that Scrum interviews are becoming technical or is too technical is because we have not actually taken the time to understand what is really needed, what are some of these tools in this environment, what exactly do they do, and all of that. For instance, you cannot tell me, oh, I was working with a team of developers and we're building an application, and you have no clue on the any tool that is used in building an application. You can say you were working on a data migration project and you don't have any clue on any tool or any application that is relevant in that space, right? That's what kind of really make many of us more or less get into the process and we don't have result because there are certain things which they are expecting that if you've been in this space then you should be able to at least have a basic understanding of what they are. And that kind of bring us to the end of our session. The other skills said, which I'm just going to mention at a high level, which we were not really able to get into deeper conversation with them today. I'm going to talk about empathy and emotional intelligence, which is the ability for you to observe and take action without actually verbal communication. Your ability for you to sense the environment and to be able to notice what is happening and to take corrective measure to be able to address that without engaging people into conversation. The ability for you to sit to see yourself in other people's scenario so that you can better support them. Another big one is organizational skills. Sometimes just imagine you work in a fast-paced environment with where you wake up in the morning, you have about 90 emails, and out of those 90 emails, about 30 of them important, and you have less than 30 minutes to go through that and have your first event. And before you get your first event, probably you have to double check on some of the state of the work. If you don't have a good organizational skill, trust me, it's going to be really, really overwhelming for you, and you might end up giving up along the way. And the last skill set, which we had to talk about today, but our time did not permit us, is adaptability and flexibility. You must be open to adapt and to be flexible. Most often, the fact that we schedule an event might doesn't mean that our event is going to hold. There are key stakeholders that if they are not in some of the event, you likely might cancel them. Maybe not so much at the level of the scrum, but then if you engage in other meetings that are beyond the team level and they are kind of aligned to the product level, you realize that there are decision makers that must be in those meetings. So I'm going to give our guest speaker the last minute to say a word to our audience before we call it a day. Coach Daniel, a word to our audience.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, wrapping up, I'll just say it was a good conversation that we had here. I mean, I learned some stuff here as well. During this conversation, I learned a whole stuff. My biggest takeaway, and I think everybody should take it too, is before you give a negative comment,
Yeah,
make sure
we
that
give
at
it five
least
of
give
them.
five positive ones. Because let's say you are upset
Yeah,
and you're about to give that comment. By the time you are done appreciating that five positiveness, you should be calm. You should be
that's
calm about it. And then on the other hand, the person who is going to receive that negative comment, by the time you've gone through that five, they feel appreciated. So whatever you say at the end, they're only taking it as another positive feedback, actually
yeah.
not a negative one. So yep. And my last word will be, you cannot succeed in this agile journey just by reading the Scrum Guide. No,
Mhm.
there is more to Scrum
Indeed.
than just the Scrum Guide.
I agree.
Recruiters are asking for more and more and more now. Now they're able to tell. They've done this for a long time. They're able to tell who just read the Scrum Guide and who actually is practicing, right? I see that most of us new Scrum Masters are suffering from what we call the imposter syndrome
Hmm.
right now because we feel like, oh, we don't have this number of years of experience. What can be the tool to eliminating that? Belonging to a community of practice.
Hmm.
Because when you belong to a community of practice, what is happening? A bunch of coaches or working scrum masters are coming and giving you real life situations. They are all pushing down their experience to you. So you get what, 2 years of experience from this, 3 years of experience from that person,
Hmm.
5 years of experience from that person. You're compiling all of that into one whole big ball of knowledge. We live in a data world. So you're getting all that data from these places, from these different environments. So I will not stop saying it. This go look for a community of practice. I'm not going to come here and then promote my community of practice to you. But there's a saying that follow who know road.
Hmm.
Look for somebody who has the results, right? When you attach yourself to those people that have the results, this is how you can actually also give that results. Why do we buy books? We're trying to get the results the authors actually, manifested. And that's why we are buying their books. We are reading. So go to a community that is actually producing that results, producing scrum masters, not just any scrum masters that are just getting a job, people
Yeah.
that are actually getting a job, keeping it, and excelling in their job places. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kushal.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go back to what Danny said. He says it. What I would say, learn and have fun. Learning is all about fun. My late uncle was a mathematician, and that's the first time I understand how to learn and have fun at the same time. Even when you go to the workplace, it's not just about work, 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 right? It's
Mhm.
about having fun. Create time where we can, have a two, three jokes and, laugh around. Just 5, 6 minutes. It makes a lot of difference, right? Just have fun. Don't overthink this stuff. It's simple, yet it can be difficult. You make it difficult for yourself, but it's not about knowing something.
Yeah.
It's about understanding something. It's like there's a reason. It's a saying I learned recently. It's like it's understand. There's something. It's about you know how to use money. There's a difference between knowing how to use money and understanding the value of money. When you understand something, then you open a whole lot. You can manipulate your way around. But when you know something, you're limited to what you know. So try to
On
understand what you know. And then that and have fun. Learn, learn, have fun. It's all when you have fun, you learn more and people become more receptive to you. So that's what I say. I didn't say have fun doesn't mean go to a party. I did not say go to a party. If I'm doing it, don't do it in your environment, please. Don't.
uh,
But yeah, it's just have fun. That's yeah, that's all it is.
and Kacha, I love the way you make the difference between knowing it and understanding it. Right. That was a powerful one. Because you need to be able to understand it. One of the biggest challenge we have is that people know it, but they don't understand it. I know what a user story is, but I don't understand what it is. I can give you a definition, but I don't know how to apply. I don't have the understanding on how to be able to apply that in a way that gives me the result that I want. So we need to move from just knowing what it is to understanding what it is. Understanding simply means I move from just knowing it, I understand how it's been applied and how and what are the output of the application. Wow, so that was a powerful one. Hello to everyone who actually join us, and it's not late. You can just also let us know where you're watching from and do much as well to share. We've kind of touched on several technical, several skills every Scrum Master need. This might seem like this is not what you want to hear. Oh, I want to do question and answers. But trust me, question and answers are just 30% of the whole process. You need to be able to master these keys. These are the skills that will help you to be able, when you get yourself in front of the right participant, they're not just looking at how well you answer questions, they're looking at how you can communicate with them. What are your leadership skills? How are you taking feedback? What is your empathy level? And that's why they ask you situational questions to be able to learn how you behave in all of this scenario. Thank you very much for joining again, and we are going to see you next week in another version of the Scrum chat room. Until then, stay tuned to